did not say the town of Tazewell this time. Yay! Anyway, I get a little confused where I am some days, but thank you all for being here. And we have two lovely ladies for our panel of experts. First, I want to introduce BJ Roberts for the Town of Bluefield, and she's going to tell you all some very good information.
Hello. I am the community development person here in the Town of Bluefield. Community development, economic development, whatever you want to call it. Anybody working in local government wears a ton of different hats. But part of my job is helping people who are looking to start new businesses, helping our existing businesses. I'm a resource for the area. So the Town of Bluefield is very happy and proud to be a part of the Tazewell County Business Launch. I think it's wonderful. Hopefully it's one of the first of many that we have in the area. I think it's a great tool for our entrepreneurs to use to start new businesses and existing businesses to expand. I'm going to talk to you guys about credit reports and credit score today. This is not my presentation. It is a very well done presentation, but Miss Cindy Snyder from Virginia Community Capital, she's a small business loan officer. This is actually her presentation. She's not able to be here today. So feel free to, I'm not very formal at all, so I'll probably go through it. If you have questions, just ask. If I don't know the answer, maybe one of Sandy or Pam or, we can all just discuss it and work it out. And if we don't find out the answer, we'll figure it out later and we'll get it to you. Okay? Anybody have any questions before I get started?
Would you like everybody to go around and introduce themselves?
Well,
so
sure.
you have an idea of what they're doing? I think that would probably help Melanie too.
Okay, that's great. Deborah, do you want to start and tell us who you are, where you're from, and then a little bit about your business idea?
Debbie Bowman, Richland, Virginia, and I have Appalachian hemp in Richlands, and my goal is to help people live a happy, healthier life. And the testimonies and stuff that I've already seen is amazing. So I've already been blessed. If I have to close the doors tomorrow, I'm blessed because I've got some good reviews from it.
I'm Melissa Mitchell. I'm Scrubs and stuff. I'm in the Stillsburg Plaza where Bellicinos is. I do vinyl, heat press, embroidery, we sell scrubs. I sell Simply Southern, we just do all kinds of stuff. And I've been in business since 2013. So I just want to learn anything I can and do better, because I'd like to leave this business to my son and his wife and let them and their kids run it.
Great.
Okay, I'm Bobby Gray. My son Blake Gray is opening Cold Town Taps, which is a tap room, and it'll have a food truck that will be on premises at all times. It will have a wine selection. Everything will be Virginia-based. We actually purchased a building on Fairfax Avenue in Richlands that used to be the old Agatha Inn. So we're in the process now of redoing all that and bringing that up to code. And Blake just wants to have a place where people, if they want to have an adult beverage or if they want to have a baby shower. I mean, he just wants people in Richlands to have a place not to go out of town to have fun. Good.
Jeff Shepard, I am a graphic artist and have a degree in creative advertising.
My name is Colin O'Donnell. I'm looking to open a coffee and bagel shop right here in Bluefield, Virginia.
My name is Bill Haber, and my daughter and I are looking to do a craft or antique mall in Bluefield, Virginia.
I'm Clint Neal. I have Your Great Escape in Tazewell. It's a restaurant and catering business. Been in business for 17 years, and I want to expand to do retail and some meal food prep also.
I'm Susan Jewell. I represent Get Well LLC. It will be a health and wellness coaching service.
I'm Melanie Protti-Lawrence, and I'm one of the owners of Lawrence Brothers in Bluefield, Virginia. We're a heavy metal fabricator. We're a family-owned business. We've been in business for 46 years, so my husband and I are third generation. My grandfather started the business to make underground coal mining trays out of a 3-car garage, and we've since grown into an 80,000 square foot facility. So very, very proud of that. I also own the Anytime Fitness here in Bluefield, Virginia. We've been in business there for about a year and a half. And we have the one in Princeton, which is coming up on its 4th year, and Whitfield is right at about 7 months. I don't sleep.
Melanie's a wealth of information. Right after I'm done with this presentation, she'll come up and share, and she's your resource for the night. So take advantage and ask all the questions you can. She said, she has a family-owned business. She can tell you that story. She can talk to you about franchise. Even our story in Bluefield, Virginia is very interesting. It was not easy because there's all kinds of things when you're looking at different locations. It takes a lot of work, and they were willing to do that. So we can even talk about that later if you want to. Melanie, to talk about some obstacles sometimes we have to go through. But we'll go right in with credit reports and credit score. This is printed out for you guys. You can include it in your binder so you can refer to it later if you need to. So what are we going to discuss today? We're going to talk about the history of credit reporting, the valid uses of a credit report, sources of credit information. We're going to show you a sample credit report, the information that's contained inside your credit report, obtaining them, the disputing process for errors, credit scores and kind of what they mean and the ranges, and then about improving your credit scores. So, again, interrupt anytime if you have a question or something isn't quite clear, okay? So what is a credit report? It's a record of how an individual has applied for, received, and repaid credit obligations in the past. I think pretty much everybody here has probably had some experience with their credit report at some time. If you own a home, a car, something like that, you've at least heard those things before. The history of credit reports. Population localized within a community. The population shift after World War II. And merchant shared account information, and credit reporting industry was established after all of that. So today, credit reporting is used, and it's an increased access to credit. It's decreased time for credit granting decisions, so that's one of the things that they'll do. That's how it's used today, is to give you speedy answers for things that you want to acquire through credit. Improved mobility of credit, and greater access to consumer products and services. So how can our credit reports be used? Credit approval. I'm sure some of you have had it used for employment purposes. Underwriting for insurance. Issuing professional licenses. Court order or IRS. And review or collection. And where do credit reporting agencies obtain their information? They obtain them from consumers. They get them from creditors, public records, internal and external inquiries, consumer statements, and collection accounts. So, let's think about this question. I am married, but I have different credit information than my husband. Is that true or false? Okay, true and false. The creditors give credit and report only on the Social Security number on file, but a marriage joins credit only when credit is granted as a joint account. So I'm sure some of you guys have you own a home together or something like that, that's when it'll be a joint account. If there has been no instance of individual credit issue, the report could be the same. It depends on how they have applied for the credit. So if you apply jointly or if you apply individually. But mainly it's tracked by your Social Security number. Okay. So this is a sample credit report. Has everybody seen a copy of their credit report before? You guys know how to access those and have seen those before? So you guys kind of know this all looks familiar. There's a lot of your information there and then a lot of numbers. And explanations of things. They're really good with all the credit reports nowadays and explaining what everything means and why it's there and that type of thing. But your personal information, that's one of the most important things to make sure that's all correct. Make sure your social security number is correct, your addresses, your names even. It's very important to verify those. Usually down the way, there's alerts and validations and statements. So if there's ever something that you want to be sure to note on your credit report, you have the ability to do so that anyone that pulls your account will be able to say, okay, well, this is an explanation of this. And then, of course, this is the credit account information and credit history, which is really nice to kind of give you like a table full of all the information of everything that you have out there that's revolving.
And from a lending standpoint, I would highly recommend that if you have not gotten a credit report, if you're going to seek any kind of financing, even if you're buying a big piece of equipment and maybe that supplier is going to finance that, I would highly recommend that you get your credit report and review it all and have that ready, because I can tell you as a lender, that's one of the first things we look at is we pull your credit to see how you're doing, you're paying your bills on time, etc. So that's important.
Is one better than the other to get it from?
No, and she'll share that there's some different ones out there. Some's good, some's not so good, but she will share with you.
Okay.
This continues to show you the different categories. There's public record information, collection agency information, and then inquiries, companies that have requested your credit file. There's things like hard inquiries and soft inquiries, but anytime you're like applying for any line of credit for a piece of equipment or something like that, it would be considered a hard inquiry. optoutandprescreen.com. Here's the information, a phone number. You can go to the website, and it's the official consumer credit reporting industry website to accept and process requests to opt in or opt out of firm offers of credit or insurance. So you get all that junk mail, you know, all those credit card offers, that type of thing. You don't want that to happen anymore. Use this information to stop that. Okay, here's another question. Is my credit report contains information about my recent divorce? True or false? You say true? It's actually false. The credit report contains information to credit, or information related to credit only. Now, a divorce can affect your credit, like if you had joint accounts and during your divorce you had to figure out where things were going and that type of thing, or while you were figuring that out in negotiations there were some missed payments or something like that. A divorce can affect your credit, but if it's reported, like it doesn't say on your credit report, you know, Mr. and Mrs. John Doe divorced on this date. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay. So what information is not in a credit report? So this information is not in a credit report. Race, religion, medical history, political affiliation, checking or savings account information, or any other information not related to credit. So we just talked about how do you get a copy of your credit report. There are free report. You can get a free report every 12 months from www.annualcreditreport.com. But you can purchase one anytime from any of the three agencies. What is it? Experian, TransUnion. On the next slide. Now, I didn't see a slide in here that talked about this, Cindy, but let me ask you this real quick. If you have been denied credit for some reason, you then can also request a copy of your credit report, right?
You can request it anytime.
Without having to pay for it.
It used to be once a year, but there's a slide and
Mm-hmm.
you keep up with your credit score 24/7.
Okay.
And it's called Credit Karma. I actually have it on my phone if you've not heard of that. But it will keep up, I mean, it goes by Equifax.
TransUnion, Experian.
There's at least two that's on there that they monitor it. So if you're getting ready to make a purchase, you might want to go and just keep track of it, or if you have any suspicions that maybe someone's using your credit card or doing anything suspicious, you can keep that and monitor. Also, it'll give your credit score that will be of interest. I know when we are talking to someone about, about a loan, usually we ask, that's in the initial questions, is, do you know what your credit score is? Because most lenders, if it's below a certain amount, they probably won't even move forward with talking with you.
We'll talk a little bit more about that too.
Credit Karma will give you actual notifications every time your credit changes.
Your credit score updates, yeah. Mm-hmm. Up or down.
If you have to pay for it, how much does it cost? Do you know? I've never paid for it. There's now so many sources available that I think that's not even a need anymore. And every time, let's say that you're car shopping, and every time that somebody runs your credit, that's also going to affect your score because it shows activity.
Mm-hmm.
So if you might not want to start running those payment schedules until you find the make and model and you've got negotiated the deal, and then do that. Just a little tip you might want to think about.
Okay, another question. I don't need to check my credit report because I pay my bills on time. False. There are many reasons other than payment history to check a credit report, such as accounts that are reported in error, accounts that have erroneously reported past due amounts, checking for identity theft, and accounts that should have been removed. So the importance of reviewing your report annually. Discovering identity fraud, that's a big thing. I know everybody is probably either have a story to where they've been affected by or know someone who does. That's a big thing. Keep accurate reports on file. So again, going in and making sure that you don't have accounts that should be removed, that aren't yours. That happens sometimes. It's happened to me. I've checked my report before and been like, this is not my account. And there's a process that you go through and we'll talk about that later. Help set goals to improve or maintain information on your report. So once a year, you can do that, and that'll help take care of those things. Another question. It is up to the credit reporting agency to verify information before they put it on my report. True or false? False. This is why the FCRA was enacted to give everyone free credit reports every year from all three agencies. So credit bureaus report information given to them from external sources, and they depend on the validity of this data. So a free report enables you to review it for the data for accuracy. That's why you get that free credit report annually from them, to make sure everything's okay. So the dispute process, if errors are found in your credit report. Use the dispute form supplied by the credit bureau, and you can go online and do this too. I've actually done this before. It's a pretty easy process, and it takes a little while, to get a response, but you will get one. Dispute through credit bureau website. Dispute directly with the creditor. You can send a letter, and keep records of all correspondence. So if you're sending letters to the creditor and that type of thing, make sure you keep a copy. Do the return receipt thing with the mail. Note what day you mailed it out, that type of thing. So we're going to talk about credit scores right now. We've touched on that a little bit. A credit score is a 3-digit number that creditors use to assess the likelihood that consumers will repay their debts and make payments on time. And how do you find your credit score? We just talked about creditkarma.com. You can get that for free. anytime, or you can purchase your score when you request your free report from freecreditreport.com.
Anybody else use Credit Karma?
I've used it before. Some credit cards will give you your credit score for free too, like give you updates on this. One of the things they try to, as a incentive. So how is a score generated? Percents. 30% are owed creditors, 35% is payment history, 10% types of credit in use, 10% of amount of new credit, and length of your credit history is 15%. You need a score above 700 to get a preferred interest rate. I've lost my paper. What's the answer on that, Sandy? True or false?
I would say that 700 or
Oh, here it is. False. It is solely dependent on the guidelines of the lender as to what constitutes a good score for a preferred rate. So it's solely dependent upon the lender. But I think 700 is a good, that's a good, you know what I mean? That's a good. So the answer to that's false, if you're writing that down. It's solely dependent upon the guidelines of the lender as to what constitutes a good score for a preferred rate.
And that's why sometimes you want to go to your existing bank to seek financing, because they may look at you a little better than going to a bank that has no history with you. Also, there's agencies like you're going to meet in 2 weeks, like People Incorporated, that has a loan program that helps individuals that maybe you're having a hard time going and finding it at a bank. They can provide some financing for you. They're a micro lender. So that's where you need to do your homework. And if you've got a relationship with a lender, go talk to them first before you go seeking else. Don't try to get you, go talking and shopping with someone else and then try to get the rate lower. I would continue working that relationship with that existing banker first. And then if you're not happy, go seek someplace else.
Okay. Pam, do you have something?
Hey, this may not be accurate, but I've always heard that the number of credit cards you have affects your credit score. So if you have 5 or 6, do you know anything about that?
Well, how much you have on balance and how much you pay, which your Credit Karma is going to keep up with that. If you're 30 days, 60 days, 90 days behind in making payments, all of that, and of course, I'm one that, I have 2 credit cards.
I have 1.
And that's it. And I'm trying not to use them very often, but that's up to the individual. I'm just like that. I'm just weird. Unique.
But I will say, I would like to add that not having a credit card can be both good and bad.
That's right.
That's the quickest way as a young person or a startup to establish your credit. You just have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence and paying it off.
Because you don't have a history.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
If
You
have
don't
a
want it
history.
near your credit limit.
Right.
You want it. So how can you improve your credit score? If you want to improve your credit score, number one, I would definitely pull that report and be sure everything is accurate. You may have things attached that aren't yours, that type of thing. So go through that process. And that takes a little time. So pay bills consistently and on time. Reduce balances on your credit card accounts and keep them low. Consider limiting the number of credit cards used. That's all stuff we just touched on. And reduce inquiries by limiting new credit applications. So just take a break. Don't apply for new credit for a little while. And avoid companies who claim they can improve your score for a fee.
Yeah, I'll just add, if you're shopping at someplace like Kohl's or others, they'll ask you, do you have a credit card with us, an account? And they'll say, we'll give you, if you want to take one out, we're going to give you 10% off or so forth. Sometimes you have to use limits, refrain from doing that. You don't want to have too many credit cards out there floating around. You know what I'm saying?
What's the score? How long does the consumer owe borrowed money? Until they pay, settle, or bankrupt. So let's go through that again. How long does a consumer owe borrowed money? Until they pay, settle, or are bankrupt. How long can the derogatory information be reported by the credit bureau? 7 years plus 180 days. So a bad mark on your credit report can be reported up to 7 years plus 180 days. And after that, it just disappears. Is that right, Sandy? And a derogatory, what's a derogatory? That would be like a collections from a doctor's office. It could be, give me another example.
It could be that, well, identity theft.
Identity
That
theft?
somebody puts your credit card, was using it, buying something in New York City that you didn't do, and it just jacked it up, and you have to dispute that, but that's still on the show. You know, someone, I tell you what, something happened to a friend of mine in Southern Virginia, that she was talked into getting a credit card by Sam's Club. And she never really had a credit card, but she was making a big purchase, and they said, if you'll buy this, you're going to get so much off. So she did. Well, during that time, the 911 coordinator for their community changed their address, which means she was not getting that Sam's Club deal during all of this. And months, she was not paying the bill because she wasn't getting it. So that's when a collections agency started reaching out. And that's how this all came out, when she got a call from a collections agency and said, you know, we're calling to collect and so forth. They started doing their investigation. So that's happened because she took out a credit card. During that whole time, her 911 address changed. And I won't even go about postal service because that would get me on a high horse and you don't want to go there. But instead of forwarding her mail, she was not getting it. And that affected her score. So that's another example of a dispute, but they're going to have to prove that all of this changed, the 911 address and so forth. But she had stellar credit before this. So be careful.
So that was on her credit for 7 years and 180 days. Yep. How long can the creditor pursue the consumer in the court system to force payment? So how long can a creditor take you to court to get their money? In Virginia, it's 20 years. In Tennessee, it's 10 years. It's easier just to pay, y'all. Yeah.
The 20 years in Virginia is how long the judgment is active.
Uh-huh.
After that, it expires.
Okay.
But if it's a contract, you have 5 years to collect in Virginia.
Okay. If it's a contract, you have 5 years to collect. Okay.
But if there's a judgment against you, it stays, and it's docketed in circuit court, it'll stay active for 20 years.
Okay.
Unless it's renewed, it's active then as long as they renew it again.
Really? Whew.
IRS expires in 20 years too.
Really?
They don't live forever.
That's good. Summary. Good credit is a valuable financial asset. Review credit report regularly and correct your errors promptly. Keep credit card balances low. Pay your bills on time every month. And build and protect your good credit. Because it's a task. You know, it's a lot to do to keep up with it. Questions? You guys have any more questions or anything? And maybe Melanie, you can talk about how important a line of credit is to you guys. I mean, you guys have so many businesses and that type of thing. And I guess the importance of a good credit and how that's maybe been able to allow you guys to diversify your business a little bit.
Can you switch up the mic with her?
Sure. So this is Melanie. She introduced herself. Are you going to do it, Pam?
No, you can introduce her. I just want to say something.
Sure.
In addition.
To Melanie?
Yeah.
Okay. This is Melanie Lawrence. She's introduced herself a little bit already, but I mean, she's just a wonderful asset to our area. Her and her husband, Fernanda, her entire family actually are great business owners in the area. They contribute in 1,000 different ways, employing people in our area, involved in all kinds of different things. philanthropy, all that stuff. So I just can't say enough about her. I respect her opinion 1,000 times over on so many things. And she's always, she'll always, if I need her, she's always there. So, and with as busy as she is, So I really appreciate her. This is Melanie Lawrence.
I just have one thing to say about Melanie, well, not really about her, but it is too. Melanie, we're lucky to have Melanie serve on their Industrial Development Authority. She just joined the board in July, so we're fortunate to have her. A lot of her business expertise, and the IDA board consists of 7 members, and the Board of Supervisors appoint those, so it's a group that takes into consideration a lot new businesses if they're needing assistance, like with startup money, or an existing business needs a loan to buy a piece of equipment. They usually help with that, so that's who they. That's just some more information out there for you. She serves on that board now, and we're very fortunate to have her on there. So.
Both of you ladies are way too kind. Thank you. Can you guys hear me? My voice projects. So thanks for having me. Thanks for being here. I don't have any slides or anything formal like that. I'm informal as well as BJ. I think I have had entrepreneurship in my blood. As I told you, my grandfather started Lawrence Brothers back when there were actually 2 Lawrence Brothers. There have not been for the 2 following decades or generations, which is why I hyphenated my name, because I knew that one day I would want it to be part of the family business, and would seem weird if one of the owners didn't have the name, I thought. So my husband's not real happy with that, but the kids have it, and I don't know, my 11-year-old son takes it off too, so it's a lot to write, I guess. But so just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Bluefield, Virginia. My mom started teaching me about credit probably when I was about 10 years old, honestly. I just remember her always talking about never buying anything that wasn't on sale and always having good credit. And so that's all of this stuff, even though I see that most of you knew most of that stuff, credit has been very important for us in our businesses. Honestly, because we had the historical relationship with our local bank, with Lawrence Brothers, when we wanted to purchase and open a franchise of Anytime Fitness, the financial obstacles that you often face weren't really there. I mean, we could go to the bank, and even if we had to do it as a small business loan, which is, if any of you have done it, paperwork up to here, and you're signing away your life and your first kid's inheritance or whatever, for your whole first child, it seems overwhelming, but credit's super important. And sometimes even something that is as little as $5 will stay on your credit and will negatively impact you. And that sounds crazy, but it can happen. So just as a follow-up to that presentation, I think that my two most important things for that would be, of course, to pay attention to what it is you're signing, any kind of contract that you're entering into. And most of you guys know this, obviously. I wish that we would teach something like this starting in middle school or 9th grade, because kids these days do not, even adults, even young adults these days, don't understand the value of credit, I think, and the importance of good credit and entering into a contract, and then having to, pursue that, having to be, liable for that. So anyhow, we do see that more in our Anytime Fitness business. Part of managing a business for me, and I asked my husband before I came what his one piece of advice would be, and so I want to just lead with that, and it was to not let fear paralyze you. Don't let the fear of taking a risk or making that jump like Colin is wanting to do to open a new business. Obviously, there's a little bit of fear, right? There's a little bit of insecurity. I always say that if you're not nervous about it, or you don't feel that you don't have that little bit of fear, then you're not dreaming big enough. You're not reaching far enough outside of your box, outside of that comfort zone. So you have to have a little bit of fear, but you have to just look at it and, acknowledge it, and then just push through it, move forward. Don't let the fear paralyze you or make decisions based out of fear. Of course, sometimes you're going to fail. But if you don't fail, then you're never going to succeed, right? I'm sure you've all heard that before, but I think that's 100% true. We've seen that with Lawrence Brothers over the course of, what did I say, 46 years? So since 1974, we've been open. And, my grandfather started the business only to make underground coal mining battery boxes. So basically a big steel box. He started with one customer and it grew to 3 and then it quickly grew to 9. And we still have 7 of those 9 customers as customers 46 years later. The other 2 have been absorbed or purchased or whatever from those 7. So I think that speaks volumes to the importance of customer service and having that very genuine and personal relationship with your client, whoever that may be, whether it's, a catering client. I remember Clint, he catered our wedding, and we continue to frequent his business because we were so happy with that. And so that's definitely one of the most important things, is to make sure that you are delivering the utmost in customer service. That would go, across the lines into our fitness business. That's the single most important thing for us there, is to make sure that every time someone steps through the doors of Anytime Fitness, that you are the best part of their day every single day. So what does that take for the gym manager who is sitting there working a 9 to 7 shift, a lot of which consists of following up with members, following up with delinquent accounts, cleaning the toilets, putting weights back where they go because the big, strong men can't put them back on their own. So how difficult do you guys think that would be? How difficult would that be for somebody to put a smile on their face and be the best part of that person's day every single day? But what I've learned as an entrepreneur and as a business owner is you have to find what motivates that person. If you're any of you who are going to have employees or work with employees, you have to find what motivates them and continue to push them toward that, and continue to positively reinforce those things that they're doing that are right. You can't just come down on them negatively. And I think that's something that, I'm just going to be 100% candid, I think that's something that has evolved over the generations. I know in working with my father, who is a great, great man and is retired and fully enjoying his retirement, he would only focus on the negative, because that's human instinct, right? That's human nature, to just focus on the negative and then pick that apart. It's a little bit harder as, a flawed individual to find the positive aspect or something positive that somebody's doing and still point that out and make a big deal about that too. But you would be surprised the difference in your employees' performance if you can just do things like that, or just, write handwritten notes to them and thank them. Yesterday was just as an example of, there are difficult times in business. Obviously, as a small business client, you know how that is, and times when you don't know if you're going to be closing the door from one week to the next. Times when you just need to fire everyone and start from scratch, and you don't want to do that because that means then you got to do it all again. But there's times that's what you have to do, right? But I had an example, and I don't do everything right, that is for sure. I'm still learning. I'm still youngish. I'm still, figuring it out myself. So I want this to be, a discussion back and forth about how things work and how we can improve things. But yesterday being National Bosses Day, I didn't even know that it was. And like I said, we have an Anytime Fitness in Bluefield, Princeton, and Wytheville. So traditionally my day is one day a week I'm going to Wytheville and spending the day with my team there and working with them. It's a new club, so they're still in training and still getting their feet under them. And it's important to have that owner presence for the members as well, to know that, yes, we are locally owned and operated. We're not some giant corporate entity like some of the other big box gyms. So they see me, they get to know me, that type of thing. So I get there, and my manager had bought me a pair of little purple earrings, which was really sweet. She doesn't know me that well yet, but she knew me well enough to know I like purple. Also, Anytime Fitness color, right? They had gotten me flowers, and they had made a video. If any of you have been to our Anytime Fitness Facebook page, you can see the video on there. And BJ will tell you that I'm a pretty tough cookie, and it almost brought me to tears. Just because it was so sweet. They pulled everybody together and they made a video and they put it out there. And I tell you that just to tell you that that let me know, that one little thing that, 4 or 6 of my employees did, that let me know that I'm doing something right. And all the things that I do wrong, I'm doing something right. So as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, you need that positive reinforcement too. That's not just for your employees, but if it's important for you, as thick as your skin may get as you're out here trying to open businesses or keep businesses afloat or diversify or evolve into something that is going to work for the next 5 years or the next 5 years after that, you still need to have that positivity come back to you. And if you're doing things right with your employees, they're gonna bring that back. And if you have the right people in place, so. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about kind of the foundations of Lawrence Brothers. That is really our primary business. Like I said, we've been in Bluefield, Virginia, right outside of town limits for 46 years, and I see the importance of being involved in the community and getting involved with things like the Development Authority, the IDA, to not only have your voice heard and be a voice for other small business owners and existing businesses in the area, but to help influence and help decisions being made. So when you guys have an opportunity to do that, I think that's really important for you to get out there and actually take advantage of that. And yes, there are volunteer. It's a volunteer position. Most of them are. But somebody has to do it, right? Wouldn't you rather be doing it to have your voice out there as a concerned citizen, as a business owner, rather than someone who really could care less, or somebody who's doing it for political reasons or doing it for, whatever other reasons they may have. So with Lawrence Brothers, we grew, and any expansion that we did for probably the first 30 years, any physical expansion that we did just out of our cash flow. So as we could do it, you'd expand 2,000 square feet here, 3,500 square feet here, and eventually we got so big that we needed to then expand by 25,000 square feet. And one thing that was very important to me was to always keep our cash flow very healthy, because as anybody knows, if you are a coal mining related business, you don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I mean, it's a roller coaster, it's up and down. So Fernando and I actually came on board at Lawrence Brothers 13 years ago, and at that point we were 90% coal mining related. We came from a background in international law and refugee law and things very different than manufacturing and that type of thing. But we knew that we needed to diversify. I mean, that was the very first thing we said in sitting down with my father. And so we started working toward that. We set out a plan, we set out a business plan, which we had never formally had. So the experience that you guys are getting and the mentorship that you're getting from the regional and local authorities on getting a business plan in place is going to be invaluable to you, because not only are you going to need that now, you're potentially going to need it, for you younger folks, you're going to need it in the future moving forward to continue doing that. I've written several of them and they're never fun, but if you have, the bones of it, take a really, what I think is a non-traditional approach to finding new employees. We work with several of the local prisons and jails and bringing re-entry people in. At one point earlier this year, we had 58 employees, 25 of which were ex-offenders. Of course, I pick and choose, and I run a background check on every person who I hire. I just started that because of about 6 months ago, because of issues that arise, as any business owner would have. But some of those guys are my absolute best employees, to be honest. I've had probably 3 ex-offenders move up into leadership positions because they were just grateful and happy that somebody was there and willing to give them a second chance. So I challenge you to look at those non-traditional ways of looking at things, non-traditional perspectives and ways to go about finding what it is, or fulfilling those needs of your business. Maybe you have a friend who is an accountant or a friend who is a lawyer. In negotiating our leases for our Anytime Fitnesses, I found a friend who was a lawyer who I could get along with, and I would send him the leases, and he would look at them and redline them up, and I have a little bit of a law background. And by the third one, I was able to look at it, and I marked it up and sent it to him, and he added a couple things, and he was like, oh, you're getting really good at this. And in exchange, I would buy him a really nice, $150, $200 bottle of bourbon. Well, how much more would that have cost me if I'd gone to an attorney? And how much longer would it have taken, right? And it wouldn't have been an enjoyable experience, and I certainly wouldn't have learned anything out of it, except for that I hate lawyers. Sorry if anybody's a lawyer, sorry. But it's, you have to look at those unconventional ways of meeting the needs of your business. So anyhow, I don't really want to ramble. I feel like I have, so I would love to just answer some of your all's questions. If you have questions about how to get started doing things, how we got started, obstacles that we faced, they were many, they are daily. You just have to, I really try to follow the mantra of, if it's something you can control, then change it. If it's something that you can change, then work on it. And if it's neither, just let it go. And that's very difficult for me, because I want to try to fix everything and everyone, but you can't do that. Talking about the human resources aspect of it, one thing that is hard for me, but that has been a staple: slow to hire, quick to fire. The quick to fire part is really, really hard for me, but if you know already that person's not working out for whatever reason, all you're doing is wasting money if you continue with them, in most cases. I always, again, I go back, I feel like I see so much potential in people and I want to cultivate that potential, but if they don't see the potential in themselves, it's not going to happen. So you can't be everything to everyone, and you can't save everyone, right? So was any of that useful? Did you get some nuggets from that? I don't do this very often, you can probably tell, but I'm happy to answer any questions or hear about maybe some obstacles or things that you're facing in your business, and maybe give you a similar story or something, how I would overcome something like that. Do you have anything?
It's really hard to hire anybody.
Isn't it? That's why I go to the jails. That really was like the number one reason, I'm not kidding.
You can find somebody you can trust, that give them a key with your money and all your inventory and
Yeah.
all your machines. And
Where are you? Are you in Richlands?
No, I'm in Cedar Bluff.
In Cedar Bluff, okay. Yeah, that is getting increasingly more difficult, and I know Colin a little bit, so I know Colin is definitely the exception in that millennial. You would not even have caught me saying anything about millennials or putting them in a box a year ago, and now I bet I talk about it once a week. And I don't mean to be derogatory. It's just a fact. And kudos to you guys who have kids and they are not in that category. And if you have kids who are in that category, please do not tell them about me. I do not want them to apply to my business. Because you have them and they all interview well. They interview fantastic, and they'll say all the right things. And then they'll show up. And I mean, I had a guy in Withful that I hired as a manager who one of Colin's friends had to come and bail me out when I had to fire him. 7 weeks in, 1 week of which he missed the entire week. He told me he had mastered the job, he wanted a pay raise, and he wanted his hours cut. I am not kidding. And I said,
Are you still hiring?
there's the door. Yeah, luckily I was not in front of him. He did it behind an email. But that was the last email he sent me. That was the last email that I responded to, I should say. But I mean, yeah, that's a very real problem. And one of the things that we can do as business owners is communicate those type of things. When you see that there's a business roundtable opportunity, go to that. Go to the community. Go to the town council meetings. Go to the IDA meetings, and tell your regional authorities that. Tell your banking officials that. Tell your local and regional representatives that. They need to know that, because we need some skills training in this area that are going to align with the job opportunities in this area. Even at Bluefield State, which is a great school, and they're turning out fantastic engineers, but someone is up there educating them or filling their head with As soon as you graduate with an engineering degree from Bluefield State, you can go and make $70,000 your first year. You're not going to do that anywhere. Maybe in New York City, which means you're going to be living in a cardboard box. But you're not going to do that anywhere. You have no field experience. You have no real life, practical experience. I interviewed 3 of them. I hired a guy who had an engineering degree who got fired from some place for smoking weed, and he's the best engineer I've ever hired. He was working in a kitchen because he couldn't find another job. So you have to really be able to try to identify talent everywhere you're at. And I hate to say it, but there are so few good, hardworking people here that if they're hardworking, they have a job. So you're going to have to steal them. Don't steal them from your neighbor, but don't steal them from me or BJ. But I mean, that's a reality.
I even tried working like with the marketing kids in high school. I thought, get them young enough, whether they can learn how to do it. And I would even ask them, I'd say, what are y'all learning in class now while y'all studying about retail or anything? And they're like, oh, we just do our workbooks. And I'm like, seriously? Nothing about marking stuff up, nothing about customer service, phone skills, nothing, none of that. And none of it. They don't
Yeah.
teach it.
It's tough. It's
They don't
tough
know
for
how
sure.
to display stuff. They don't have a clue.
Do you have those issues? Of course you do, Clint. What do you do? What's your magic wand?
Well, I've been really lucky, actually. I've got the same, I pretty much had the same employees for the last 7 to 10 years.
Wow.
The same core group of
That's-
people.
We
So I've been really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I consider my employees more important than my customers. I'll put the employees first. And I know if I put the employees first, they'll put the customers first.
That's probably the best advice of the night. You're absolutely right. You have to, one thing that I did today, and I'm leaving on a 2-week trip tomorrow, so you can imagine today was a really, really busy day. But because of what my 6 employees did yesterday that really blew me away, I sat down and wrote handwritten cards to each of them and mailed them to their homes. And my 22-year-old trainer, he's probably going to be like, what is this junk mail, and throw it out, right? But my 43-year-old manager is probably going to bring a tear to her eye that somebody took the time to write a handwritten note to her. That those type of things are really important. That's one thing that we employ at Anytime Fitness. If you're a member of ours and your birthday is coming up, we send you a handwritten birthday card in the mail. Who does that? That's something small that you can do in your businesses that each of you could do for any of your clients. Or write something. We write all of our active members' names at the beginning of each month. All of the most active members from the month before. We write them up on the board. You would be amazed at how much that makes someone's day. You have somebody come in and they'll take a selfie with their name on the board and put it up on social media. So they're marketing for you, right? They're promoting for you, they're spreading awareness, and they're smiling while they're in your facility. So absolutely, treating your employees like that means they're gonna treat the customers even better. And that's something that we do at Lawrence Brothers. At Lawrence Brothers, like I said, we hire people who are just coming out of the prison system. Most of the people who come to us, it's been some kind of petty drug charge or larceny or something like that. I don't really go much higher or deeper than that. That's just my comfort zone. And they will come in and I meet every one of them. I shake their hand. I look them in the eye. I tell them about their benefits. And I walk around and I know all of my employees' names and I speak to all of them as if I was sitting here talking to Pam. They're not, I don't think that they're any less than me or that they are any different than me. To me, we're on the same level, and I think that that's a management style that has gone out of fashion. That's something that really has a powerful impact on your employees. So yeah, you got to do something to keep the good employees that you have, so that you're not having that turnover. Yeah. And one thing, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, you had mentioned a healthy cash flow and how important that was to you. What, if you had to give a rough estimate, what percentage would you set aside for like a rainy day fund of your business of total everything costs?
This is probably on the high or on the conservative level, but just like you would on your personal bank account or checking account, you want to have 6 months of reserves. I'm not saying you should maybe have all of that sitting in your bank account, in your checking. Maybe you're going to put some in savings. Maybe you're going to put something in CDs or something that you can liquefy quickly if you needed to. I don't have that in my bank account right now, but our cash flow is as healthy as it's ever been in 46 years. It's great right now because we've made the decisions that we have. But my accountant, who actually is retired, but we work out together at the gym, and we talk shop after we work out, which is fantastic because he doesn't bill me. But he's a friend of mine, and he likes to be able to give me that free advice. I always tell him he can bill me. No, he doesn't. I don't make him. I do not make him. So no, you take care of your people. You take care of your people. Yeah. But he comes every single day, and you better believe that he tells everyone who he talks to about Anytime Fitness and how much he loves it, and he's seeing results. So he wants to be there. That is your marketing. Word of mouth, especially in a place like Bluefield, is your marketing. And of course, you're going to have your 1% of people that no matter what, you can't satisfy them. And yes, I've had to kick people out. And I'm proud of it, and I would do it again because I'm protecting the other 99% that I have in there. And you have to have thick skin. I mean, we were saying, Pam said she was going to get up and talk about me. And I told BJ, well, I'm used to people talking about me. I mean, you can't be in the community and be a business owner and expect people not to talk about you. I'd be lying if I said it didn't faze me or didn't bother me, but you have to get that thick skin, and you have to realize that people are going to talk about you no matter what you're doing. So, and what they say about you is none of your business, right? Isn't that what the saying says? I'm still internalizing that and learning that. But yeah, I'd say that 6 months is a healthy, but you have to work up to that. I mean, you're not going to, but my accountant tells me, hang on to your cash. Coal is going, and we've already seen, I don't know if anybody is, well, we're all, of course, aware of what's going on with coal, but I will tell you, since probably 3 or 4 months ago, it's completely disappeared. Completely disappeared. And if you think about politically what started happening 3 or 4 months ago, that'll tell you exactly why. Perception is everything. It's not even actual facts or actual something that's in play. Perception's everything. And it's the same with your business. Perception's going to be everything. So you have to make sure that people are perceiving you as a place where they can go and get a good quality product. They're going to get treated well and fairly. They're not going to get sick from your food, right? They're going to come in and have a clean and enjoyable experience. Really, that's what we're all delivering, is that exceptional customer experience, right? Isn't that what we're all working toward? Jeffrey, what's your business or your business to be?
Graphic design, graphic art, creative advertising.
So absolutely, that's about the experience, right? That's about the experience that people see when they see your products or what you're generating or creating. Anybody else have any questions or anything they want to throw in?
Like my business, I'm going basically by word of mouth, because I've been trying to get a web page ever
Right.
since I opened it up, which was in April. But due to the controversy of hemp versus marijuana.
Do you have Facebook? Go on Facebook.
I do, I have Facebook.
Yeah, that's huge.
I'm asking all my customers when they come in to like the page and to share it with their friends and to write a comment,
That's key.
I said, write a good comment,
Of course.
But I said, you can lie. But I said, because that's what I'm going by right now. And, but just getting some money to get out there just to do mine. But Melissa just told me she had a number of someone that might do the website for me. But I bet I've tried 5 people to do a website page for me. I don't know how to start it. Or I don't do it
Honestly,
myself.
I hate to say, and you probably will contradict me, Jeffrey, but I hate to say that your social media is going to be way more important than your website.
Well, that's what I
100%.
thought too, and word of mouth
I
has
mean,
been better.
and word of mouth is of course, but you can only control that by the experience you deliver when they come in, right? You can't control it beyond that. Your social media you can control to a certain extent. You can delete those nasty comments people make, which you should. You absolutely should, and people will, no matter what. I mean, no matter what. I have people post about Planet Fitness on mine all the time, and I'm just like, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I get on there and, they put the, comment and everything, and I think that I'll answer them back and thank them for considering using, Appalachian and everything and stuff. So it's,
You need to incentivize them to do that. If they're going to give out your card and someone comes in and says so-and-so referred me, I'm going to give you 10% off your next whatever. That's a big deal for people. We do that.
I've got ready a reward program.
There you go.
So I was trying
You're on the right
trying
track,
to get
yeah.
that thing.
Do you have a young person in your life, someone in their 20s who could do an Instagram account for you?
Yeah.
So you need to give them free lunch or something to do it, because it doesn't take much. And they're on Instagram anywhere. And they're on Instagram anywhere anyways. So they need to help you get your page up and running. It's something easy. That is a benefit of the young people that I hire anytime, is they are on there. But that is their duty. They have to be on there and making posts, putting up stories, doing a boomerang or all those silly things that I don't even know 100% about. It's because that is really going to be your target audience. So that's what you have to do, is you have to find out what your target audience is and then market toward them. There's not going to be any taboos or whatever with the 20 to 40 category on hemp. Nobody's going to care. I'll just tell you that at Lawrence Brothers, Pam, close your ears. If you fail a drug test for weed, I'm probably still going to hire you unless you're operating my laser. Because, otherwise I'll have no employees. Literally none. Literally.
Do you know that some of the businesses that I've heard has even told their employees that even if they use the CBD, that they will be fined?
Yeah. But they'll be fired? That'll be illegal soon for them.
That's what I think, because see, this is legal. This
It probably is already illegal.
CBD, it's legal in 50 states. So how can they do that and it be illegal?
Well, those type of people probably won't be successful in the next 5 to 10 years, because you have to be thinking about 5 to 10 years. You can't be thinking about where you're going to be in 5 weeks. You have to already be thinking, and yes, that's overwhelming, and yes, but you have to just take it in bite-sized portions. Break it down and think about the first year, and then 3 years, and then 5 years. And you don't have to have all the details on the 5 years. You have to know what you're going to be wearing. You have to know where you want to be. And that's actually, there's tons of regional and local resources for that type of thing. When BJ invited me to the Bluefield Roundtable, how long ago was that? The Bluefield Manufacturers Roundtable, a year?
At least a year ago, yeah.
So it was a year ago, and I met Sam Wolford, who some of you guys may know with Gen Edge, and he works with Heart of Appalachia. He has like 18 hats and wears. And I met him and, some other business owners who I knew but had not really met. And since then, we've been able at Lawrence Brothers to work with business consultants in developing a 5-year strategic plan. We had it in our head. We just needed somebody to help us get it out and break it apart, and breaking apart the obstacles, the customers, how you're going to market. And our business has changed 360 degrees in that 1 year. Not just because of that, but because of the 3 grants we've been able to uncover and find, because of the very low interest grant that we've been able to find. So find the points of leverage as well. If you ever need local or regional resources, BJ is fantastic, Pam is fantastic, I'm sure Sandy is fantastic as well in uncovering those. I didn't even know about the Virginia Coalfield Economic Development Authority, but I found out about them because I saw another company got money in the paper, and I said, I should be getting that money. Why can't I get that money? I'm family owned and operated. I've been in this area for 46 years. I have 50 employees who I employ and pay 100% health insurance for, which is a big deal. And so I went after that money. A month, maybe 2 months after I found out about Visita, they gave us $600,000 to buy a brand new laser. Well, they didn't give it. They loaned it, I should say. But my banker, not because of our credit history, but because of our debt to income ratio, said, well, your bottom line at the end of the year is going to have to look like this in order to get $600,000 from us. And my accountant, who was in the room with my banker at the same time in our meeting of the minds, after he walked out, said, your bottom line's not going to be there, because that means you're going to pay a heck of a lot of tax, and I don't want you to have to pay that much tax. So you have to have people who are in your court, right, who are on your team to help you. And he said, you need to go to Visita. So I went to Visita and got a loan for 2.7 interest, which the bank may have done it for 6.3, which still wouldn't be bad, but think of the difference. And there is a possibility of a forgiveness, right, Pam? Possibility of partial loan forgiveness, which we are working toward if we meet all of our goals. I fully intend to be asking for $300,000.
One other thing,
House Bill 222?
No, it's
Oh.
different, it's a little bit different. If you buy a piece of equipment, if you buy it from a company in Virginia, the tax that you would owe on that, you could possibly get rebate.
Right them all. Yeah, that's fantastic. So see, things like that, that I wouldn't have known about that. Pam, you should be emailing me every day, telling me something. But if I hadn't come to this roundtable, which, I didn't really have time to come, but BJ asked me to come, and I knew there was going to be some people there who I wanted to meet, so I came, and I was incredibly glad. I couldn't make it to any of the other ones, but I kept in touch with Sam, and we've already started developing groups of individuals, business owners, who want to be involved and who want to see some change in Southwest Virginia to actually implement that change. Not just talk about it, right? So those are the type of things you need to find out about and get involved in, and giving back to the community is going to be key. We're getting ready to do an event at our gym in November, a push-pull weightlifting event. You need to come sign up for that, Colin. And my trainer's from Cedar Bluff, so he's a local boy. He knows the importance of local. Ethan Witt, he's young, he's 26. But he said all proceeds are going to go to the Alzheimer's Foundation and the Heart Disease Foundation. I said, there are so many local people that need that. Let's not give it to these big national organizations. So we compromised because they're taking the lead on it, and I let them do Alzheimer's because November's National Alzheimer's Month. And then we found a local family who 2 of the daughters have passed away in the past year due to heart disease, and there are 7 grandchildren who the grandfather is now caring for. So, but it was heart disease, right? So we'll give the other portion to that family. So those type of things are really important. I always worry in the back of my head, are people going to think I'm capitalizing on this? Are people going to think I'm trying to take advantage of this? And you have to just say, who cares? I know I'm doing it for the right reasons. I know I'm doing it with a good heart, and people can say whatever they want to say. But I know that was a
That
tangent.
brings up a good point too, as business owners, you need to take some responsibility of getting out in the community and learning about what's going, because Pam's one person to handle the entire county.
Yeah.
But, you need to be out. There's chamber right here sitting. Get involved in your chamber. I'm a firm believer in volunteering in the community. I do that a lot. Everybody says there's not enough free time, but if you can take an hour a quarter, you get a lot more out of it than you put into it, but you're out networking, and that's key. When you become a business owner, sometimes you get in a bubble, and you're busy. You got payroll, you got taxes and so forth, but you need to try to figure out a way to stay engaged in your community, to learn about grants, tax opportunities that are coming out. That's your responsibility. We can only do so much, but you have to take some of that responsibility.
And it really is, because and when I called Pam up, or I called BJ first, because she's my go-to, she's my default resource, and she said, well, Pam really handles, we're not in the town, we're in the county, so Pam really handles the county and the Vasita stuff. So I called Pam and I said, Pam, I saw that Pemco got this much money for a laser. I need a brand new laser. She said, oh, well, we have do you remember this? A really long-standing relationship with Pemco. We've worked with them for many years. They're family owned and operated. I said, no, I've been here for 46 years. We've been family owned and operated for 46 years. So I deserve it just as much as them. And she said, okay, here's the application.
We came to visit with you, BJ, and
Right.
myself and some other people. But one of the things I want to mention too is that I'm not really a Facebook person. I'm in the age bracket where I don't really like it. But I do have an economic development Facebook page that I try to post all of the workshops, anything like that. So you may want to follow that to get involved with some of the things that I post on there, because it's good workshops that I try to attend. Some of them, I don't get to all of them, but they're very, you pick up some tips in every one of them that you go to. You really do.
That's right. And, going back to what Sandy was saying, you have to, and this is really hard for small business owners, especially a startup, and so you can't be too hard on yourself if you can't do it in the beginning. But you have to let go of the reins a little bit and have someone, no matter how small your business is, working in the business so that you can work on the business. There's a big difference. It is, it's hard.
Your baby.
It is your baby, but you eventually have to push that baby out of the nest anyways. So, but if you really want it to grow, and you want to be able to hand it down, then you have to be able
I'm
to.
at 15 after 4 today. That's why. I'm the first one here and I'm the last one to leave. It's not me. But,
Well, and I'll tell you, for example, at our Anytime Fitness here in Bluefield, we had a manager who trained with our first manager in Princeton, who was my sister, and she was fantastic at it. I didn't hire her because she was my sister. I hired her because I knew she had the potential. Everyone thought she was the owner, which was fantastic. I loved that. I don't even put my business cards out. I don't want anybody to call me. She would deal with everything, right? And that was fine with me. And then she decided she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom because she was having a second kid. And so I found someone and that's the hardest part. Like we put applications or job postings out on Indeed and on Facebook pages when we're really desperate and other places, but it's people who you know or who are 6 degrees removed from you or 3 degrees removed from you that are going to be your long-term people. That's what I find, at least in a smaller business. I did get our trainer, Ethan, through Indeed, and he is fantastic. I met Colin through Indeed, but really through a person who, I think he was our member, and then I hired him to work part-time, and he knew our current manager. The manager who trained with my sister, who was our first manager in Bluefield. She was with us for 2 years. She was fantastic. Everybody loved her. People literally cried when she left. Literally. She still comes back and does our chalkboard. If you guys have never been in over here, you need to come look at the chalkboard because it's a work of art. And she literally will have people lined up to talk to her when she comes in. Like, 'cause she's their therapist. And she doesn't get paid for it. But I mean, and she was my neighbor. I had no idea. She was a stay-at-home mom. She had worked at her church kind of on and off. I never had any inkling that she would be a great manager, but we poured training into her. We poured resources into her. We sent her to, our corporate headquarters. What motivated her was time off to spend with her family. So that's what she got. Once she got to her and met her goals, she got time off to spend with her family. But when she left, I had a new girl who was coming in. She texted me the night before her first shift and said she couldn't come in. She texted in. Not even called in, texted in. So obviously she didn't make it. So I just stepped in and said, well, I'm going to do it. I'll just do it until I find the right person. I didn't think it was going to take 8 weeks. So I was doing it for 8 weeks, so it became my baby. It was already my baby, but everything became my baby. The toilets had to be cleaned the way I needed them cleaned. The baseboards nobody cleans the baseboards now, right? But you have to realize, you have to let go of some of those little things. And sometimes when I get in there and I'm doing my workout and I stop to go and clean the baseboards, my manager gets the point. She realized I should not have to be cleaning the baseboards. Not that I care, but that's because she didn't do it. She didn't pay attention to that. You what? Fuzzy baseboards, yeah, they're the worst. Especially when you're like doing plank or you're, doing burpees or something. Yeah, they're the worst. But I mean, cleanliness for a gym, good customer service and cleanliness are the top 2 things that people want. 60%, 65% of women quit gyms because they're dirty. So my gyms will not be dirty. And as an Anytime Fitness member, you have reciprocity to all of them all across the country. There's like 3,500 of us. Every person that comes in that is a guest who speaks to us, sometimes people are just, into themselves, but if they speak to you, they tell you this is the absolute cleanest Anytime Fitness I've been to. They say it about all 3, but that's important to me. So one thing I do when I interview is I haven't gotten to the point yet that I actually make them go and clean a toilet and I watch it. But I have them walk me through how they clean a toilet. And you may think that that's crazy. Another thing I do is I have them I walk them out to their car when they leave, and I look at their car. If their car's messy, they're not. Because that's going to tell me how they're going to take care of my office. That's going to tell me if they're organized, if they have a structured mind.
I asked them, do you know how to use a vacuum cleaner? If you vacuum, how do you vacuum?
Well, if they're 22 or 26, they know how to do everything. They already know how to do everything. So of course they know how to vacuum.
And they don't want the broom.
Sorry, but they do. The broom hurts their back?
The broom hurts their back.
I think you need to be meaner.
I'm like, really?
I think you need to not be so nice. And I have to take my own advice because I'm the same way.
Fired a few.
You fired a few? I had one young, yeah. I had one young boy who was a great trainer, had great rapport with all of his clients, and we were starting a challenge on Labor Day, so he had to be there on Labor Day. In the gym, you don't get holidays off. People are off of work, so that's when they come in and work. You don't get holidays off, Clint, right? When people want to go out and eat. So you know that when you're taking that job. It's in the contract that you sign. So I gave him the Friday before off. That's your holiday off. I'm paying you to be off this day, but you have to be there on Monday. He came in on Monday an hour late, and he left 5 hours early. That means he worked 3 hours. And then, when I fired him, he tried to collect unemployment. Good thing I had all the text saved. So you have to watch your back. You have to think about those things. And the other thing that I always ask people when I interview them is, what do your parents do? Somehow, if I find someone who has worked on a farm, they're probably going to be a pretty hard worker, right? If I find somebody who, I don't know, who they've never had to work a day in their life, I hate to say it, and I don't always apply it, but never be someone's first job. Somebody has to be their first job, but you probably shouldn't be if you don't want to have to be doing their job for them.
That's what happens, though, people that really, I had that happen to me when I was young, and I would go to try to get a job. They said, well, I can't hire you because you don't have any experience. And I'm like, how am I supposed to get experience?
And it's true, but let somebody else, let them go. That's why McDonald's is there. That's why Walmart is there. People can go and have that as their first job. If somebody's willing to work at McDonald's and work the drive-through window for 2 years, you better believe I'm going to at least give them an interview, because I wouldn't want to do that. Can you imagine how they get treated? They probably get spit on.
They probably spit on their food.
And they may do that. But do you guys have any other questions or anything you want to say? Bill, what do you guys do? A antique mall, you said, right?
Craft or antique is our, we want to have the facility or the place, and then we want to try to target local people that make things.
Like an artisan warehouse type?
Yep.
Do you know where you want to be? Do you already have like a location picked out, or?
Yeah, we're looking at 2 buildings that are both on, near West Graham.
Okay.
One to purchase and one to lease, and right now we're just trying to get everything.
And you are you a business owner before? Have you been a business owner? Have you negotiated leases and stuff like that?
Mhm.
So you can always ask for rent abatement.
Yeah.
You can always ask, that's one thing if you're going to put up a new building. Don't pay rent for the first 3 months. No landlord's going to say no. They really won't. And I learned, I didn't ask for anything in my first location in Princeton, and in 4 years I've replaced 3 heat pumps. So I got smart. In Bluefield, it was you're putting brand new heat pumps up and you're taking care of them, or I'm not doing it. In Wytheville, the same thing. They said yes to everything. Actually, the landlord over here, even though who knows when is going to go in, but he has not told me no to anything. I'm paying his mortgage on that building. You have to think about that. If you're you hold the cards. If you're in some kind of strip mall or something, you're paying a mortgage for them. So you need to hold them to what they say they're going to do, or what you feel like they should do as a good landlord. My dad is my landlord at Lawrence Brothers.
How's that work?
I pay him rent, which is probably much lower than market value. The more sales we make, the rent goes up, but only to a certain extent, only to a certain number. We still pay him a buyout every month, which was pretty much equivalent to what he was making there, but he has to pay his own taxes. And he doesn't get to come down and tell anybody what to do. Yes, we've had to be tough on him. And if any of you guys know my dad, you know that that's very hard to do. But now he has the best of both worlds. He's still technically getting paid, and he's living his best life as a retiree. And every now and then he'll ask me what's going on, and of course, like diarrhea of the mouth, I can tell him everything, and he'll just say, "Okay, stop. That's enough. You can keep the stress." And it's true, but that was worth the sacrifice for us, because my husband and I are both 38, 39, So we were willing to take risks and do things that my dad was not willing to do at 60 years old. He was happy with the status quo. He wanted to diversify, but he didn't really want to go out on the road and sell, and he didn't want to have to get on the phone with new clients, and he didn't want to have to give tours 3 times a day and look for opportunities like Vasita has. He didn't want to do that stuff. And when I was doing that stuff, he was asking me, why aren't you at the office? Why aren't you working? He didn't really believe in that community portion of it, which has been the deal changer, the game changer for us for the last year. And he did great. I mean, he deserved to be happy with status quo because he'd worked there since he was 17 years old, He was happy with it. He brought it to a certain level. But for us, it was worth the risk to be able to be the sole decision makers, to be able to take risks. This year, we have invested almost $1 million in capital investments of new equipment. That equipment, it's only going to get paid for if we keep the business that we have and get more business. So yeah, that's the fear. There's a fear there, but we've faced it and we continue to push forward. We don't make our decisions based on that. We make our decisions based on that strategic growth plan that we developed, that business plan, that 5-year plan, and we take the necessary steps toward it to get there. So no matter how big or small your business is, you need to have something like that you follow. And it's not going to look like this, right? It's going to look like, way down underground in the grave sometimes, and rocks, and it's tough. It's tough, but you have to hold your ground and keep moving forward. Every day's a new day, right? Maintain a positive mind frame. That's probably the hardest thing, isn't it? Other than hiring and firing.
Sometimes when you leave, though, you hope it burns down and you never have to see it.
Yeah, I have nightmares about that. I have nightmares. No, I think we all probably have felt like that.
Start smoking and
Where are you guys going to be?
We want to be like downtown Richlands,
Downtown Richlands.
and it's, there's.
In the Richlands Mall or downtown?
Right downtown on Fairfax Avenue.
Oh, okay.
And there's mixed feelings.
That's usually a good indication that you're doing something right, if there's mixed feelings. If everybody likes it,
Mixed feelings from other people.
oh yeah.
But Blake's, he was home on vacation 2 weeks ago, and within 3 days, he had me talked into becoming his general manager and quitting my part-time job at Lowe's when we opened, and
Are you his mom?
I am.
That's awesome.
But he said the sweetest thing. He said, I really don't know what I'm doing. He said, you don't either. He said, but we'll do it together. And I thought, you know what? This is his dream.
I have that thought every single day. I have that thought every day. What am I doing? I really don't know.
You can have that thought and just get in the car and drive somewhere.
That's exactly right. But the importance behind that is having that support group and that group of experted individuals and whatever it may be around you and advising you. And like I said, you're going to take or leave the advice, but at least you're seeing things from different perspectives, and that's important.
And you have to run your business. Your business can't run you.
That's exactly right.
You have to take
And we have days where that's the case, that it runs us or runs right over us like a Mack truck, right? But
My husband's like, you sure you want to do this? I'm like, sure, why not?
But if you think about it, the small businesses, that we were talking about it before, Pam, that's what made this region. That is literally what has grown our local and regional economies, are our small businesses. It's not Lowe's or Tractor Supply or any, and they're great, they are, but they're not the ones that are growing this economy. They bring a lot of their higher paid jobs in from the outside.
And Blake lives in Harrisonburg, and he's going to continue to live in Harrisonburg, so he wanted to bring economic growth back to his hometown that he graduated from. That he grew up
And that's
in.
huge.
That's
And honestly, that's something that on some of the business panels that I've spoken on, that's something that I believe in, and there's a lot of people out there that don't believe the same, which is fine, but the class that I graduated with and the class that BJ graduated with were very, very smart, strong individuals. We've got lots of doctors and lawyers and people who have been very successful in life. Very few of us live here. But what is the number one issue? What's the number one thing that they don't like around here? There's nothing to do. There's no amenities like a 24-hour fitness center or bistros and bars and coffee shops and hemp. There's no things like this that there are in the bigger cities. So these are the exact ways that we are going to bring people like that back. You know why they're going to come back? Because their parents are here and daycare is freaking expensive. And you don't trust anybody with your kids. That's 100% the truth. These people are paying probably their annual salary to send their kids somewhere where they can actually maybe learn something, not get the flu, hopefully, and not get, not be hurt.
And as a parent, that never leaves you, because I told my husband, I said, I can't imagine Blake taking the risk he's taken, investing the money he's investing, and then handing it over to someone to manage that is going to end up stealing him blind or letting people have beer or something. So I am a helicopter mom right now.
But you never know. This business may thrive and grow, and that should be your goal, and it may bring him back here because he'll be happy to be with family, and he'll have some, I don't know if he has kids, but he'll have somebody who, can help him with his other life responsibilities. He has a golden doodle. That's important. Somebody needs to keep your dog when you travel.
Y'all may want to go to St. Paul and talk to the Baileys that started Sugar Hill.
I think he's been there.
And now they have Sugar Hill Cidery in Norton. They were right in the heart of St. Paul. People, were not too happy that a brewery was going to go in.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. And how they've overcome that, I mean, if you go to their shirt, I love Jesus and I love beer, T-shirts and so forth like that. But, they've had nobody else was doing it when they started. And they've had some lessons that they've learned, but an hour with them could be a good insight for you.
And that's important for all of you guys.
That have him in Charlottesville. And he's really learned a lot before he decided to do it. So evidently I'm going to your school. I don't know what it is.
But learning from other entrepreneurs who have done something similar in similar demographic areas. Like Colin, you should talk to Shannon Remines. He had do you know who he is? He had the corner coffee shop and bistro that he closed.
Yep.
And he probably closed it because he has another manufacturing business that was booming and he couldn't find people. So go learn from him what his obstacles were, what his trials and tribulations, what worked, what didn't. He had tanning beds in his coffee shop. And for a while that was really successful. Maybe you don't want to have tanning beds. Maybe you do, but find out from him whether that's a real profit center. Go to other places that do monogramming and embroidery and talk to them about their trials and tribulations. They're going to be able to help you improve, learn from other people's mistakes, and so you can make different mistakes, right, and learn from your own. But did you have mentors around you, Clint, who helped you get started and excel?
Actually, none at that time. There really wasn't a lot. In the area back then. So.
Do you feel like that would have helped you?
Because I had a lot of questions, and I just kind of had to
Figure it out on your own.
my own. Yeah. So this is great, but we're having something like this.
And that's something else to me is you should always have a mentor that is a little bit older than you, so they have a different perspective. That might be a little old-fashioned, but they're going to help you with that target group of people. And to me, if you are 30 to 65, you should have a mentor in their 20s who actually mentors you. Somebody who teaches you. If you do not have social media, it is going to be very difficult to have a thriving business. Very difficult. And you can understand it, you can learn it on your own, but if you have a daughter or a granddaughter or a friend, I use people like James, like his friend James, who is super techie and super savvy and can do videos and splice things and do all this. I use him as my 20-something mentor. There's lots of things I can learn from him. I use my 11-year-old son as a mentor. Don't tell him that because then he'll say he knows more than me because he thinks he does. But they teach us things as well. Every day we're learning something from our kids. You just have to be perceptive enough and observant enough to realize. And my son, actually, obviously, he's paying attention to what we're doing. He just started middle school, and he was bored with his classes, and he just said, "I just want to make money. I don't really want to go to school." So he started selling bubble gum in school. So already, they're literally 2 weeks into school. He was known as the gum kid. Yeah. Well, he started trying to charge. We learned about demand and supply and demand because he was charging $1 a stick. I said, nobody's going to pay that, Marcus. Nobody. They did the first day. Second day, he said I had to go down to 25 cents now. But to him, change is not money. And I'm like, put it in a big thing, and then you're going to have $100. He made, before kids got smart and started buying their own bubble gum, he made about $50. And that was, you know, we made him go to Sam's and buy the value pack and pay with his money. He also learned that nobody wanted the mint gum. They only wanted the bubble gum, the fruity bubble gum. So he had to give the mint away. He probably ended up losing. But hey, the teachers, some of the teachers would tell me, you better be careful, he's going to get sent to in-school suspension. I said, if he gets sent to suspension for being an entrepreneur, I'm going to pat him on his back. I mean, they learned that. I told him he should start selling pencils. Pencils or erasers or something that you get in trouble for not having in class, right? But I feel like I've rambled. I'm sorry. I hope some of what I've shared has been helpful. I'll leave you guys my cards for both of my businesses. Feel free to stop in and see me. I kind of bounce back and forth, or send me an email if you want to grab lunch, maybe talk specifically about your business or obstacles, or I don't know, just talk about our experience and how we continue to do it. I mean, we're still learning and growing just like all of you guys. But I really appreciate you having me.
Appreciate you. Thank you. That was great, Melanie. Thank you. You know, I try to get around and visit a lot of businesses. I don't always make it to as many as I want to, but I try to go visit and see what they do, that type of thing. And when I first went to Melanie's business, I was blown away by everything that they do there. She's got a great company. She does a lot of great things for her employees, and I see a lot of that. And you hear people say, well, there's no jobs around here. Yes, there are. And they're good jobs, they're good paying jobs, where employees are good to you. So on the opposite end of what you all are saying, we can't find people to work, I hear the same thing from people saying, we can't find a job. There are jobs. So
You have to, and that again goes back to the social media. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to let people know. And I've started trying to get my foot in the door at, I really think it should start as early as middle school, but in the high schools, and letting kids know before 10th and 11th grade when they're already applying to colleges. College is not for everybody.
no, it isn't.
It's really not. Not everybody can be sitting behind a desk or doing something that we need trades. And in this area, we need it much more. I have welders who work for me who make $75,000 a year in Bluefield, Virginia, and have 100% paid health insurance. Some of them don't even have a GED, but they can weld. And it's a dying trade.
It is a dying trade. But we do have, I'm not sure if all the high schools have them, but they do have career coaches in some of the high schools now, which is good. I think they may even have them in middle school, I'm not sure. Do you have one where you are? Okay, that's what I thought. It's just one person though, right?
Yeah.
See, they really need more than one. That's a lot to handle all those students, but, I mean, they're getting there with one career coach. They didn't used to have that, so I think they're moving in the right direction.
How do they coach you? Like, what do they?
She's just there to help you apply for college and scholarships.
That's
kind of
my
like
point, you
guidance
know?
counseling.
And that is important, of course, but college is not going to be for everybody. There's, I don't know, there are vocations out there that you're going to make much more money and probably have a much more meaningful career than, I mean, there's a lot of college students that are still living in their parents' house and paying student loans. And they're poorer than they were when they started going to college.
Not working because they won't take a job making less than what they think they should do. So we see it all the time.
Part of that's the people that you hear say there's no jobs. There's those kind of people, and it's a certain job they want. The people that you hear say we can't find enough people to work is business owners, people that want to hire trades or skilled laborers or anything really. So.
We've started training people in-house is what we do, because we can't find people who have the skills that we need. But if they're willing to show up to work every single day, even if their wife has to bring them, which is a lot of them. We have a high school pickup line at work. I think only half of our guys actually have valid driver's license. But that's okay. If they can get there every day, I'm not going to worry. But if they can get there every day and they can work hard and have a good attitude, then we will teach them just about anything they want to know.
And the United Way started the Ignite program, which is an apprenticeship program where you can do internships during your summer break. We had our first class this summer, and it was a huge success that businesses like Melanie and others in the region are allowing internships, which gives you that experience to see, is this something that I want to do? Do I want to go to college, or do I want to get some other skills? So I know a couple, West River Machinery has offered a job to a young man when he graduates from high school, a full-time job. He's working there part-time. So that's something to look at. And Melanie mentioned several times mentorships. You have a list in your notebook of mentors that we provided you in Tazewell County that are offering their services. If there's someone on there that doesn't have the specialty that you need, even Melanie even offered, take advantage of that. Call Pam, BJ, or myself. If there's something that you need, ask. We're here to help you. We're not just doing this program and then when it's over with, we're gone. We want to continue mentoring you after this, and please don't wait till the last minute to work on that business plan. Please, 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 and work on your pitch. And that's one of the reasons every week to the speakers, I'm asking you to go around and tell the folks that are speaking who you are, because I want you to practice on that pitch. You only have 30 seconds to do it during the session, but that pitch is important to you. You may not think about it, but that's your first impression going to that banker, to that supplier, talking you're in a community event, is talking about your business. You know it, you're passionate more than we are. Express that. Let people know who you are, what you do. And trust me, it may sound elementary, but going forward, it's very important to have that pitch.
I like to call that your unique sales proposition. So what it is that sets you apart from the person beside you, what service are you offering, and how is that unique? And it does. It's a 30-second elevator speech that no matter where, and I'm working on mine because I hope to go to the regional, what is it, the regional that's going in DC or in Richmond?
Oh,
The IDA is invited to?
it's actually a group of people from Tazewell County. It's town council members, mayors, managers, the IDA, board of supervisors. We go to Richmond every year, and we meet with different agencies to find out, programs that are available. We tell them if we have a need for something, if they can help us, find solutions for it. We visit with the legislators and tell them what our issues are. So it's usually very productive meetings.
So my goal is I want to work on and hone my unique sales proposition so that when I go up there, if I can go and meet legislators and meet people who could help positively impact not only my business, but Southwest Virginia as a whole, I can tell them why we need them to come to us and why we are in need of it more so than Richmond and then Fairfax County and then Lynchburg up, right? Lynchburg north.
Well, everybody thinks we go up there just for a trip, but we don't. When we get up there,
Pound us.
Yeah.
Pound us for dinner.
right, say pizza. Well, we had to shop the first time.
Sometimes that's when the magic happens. Is maybe not when you're shopping, but when you're sitting down having a glass of wine with somebody and you're able to
there were times
elaborate.
I was
in 30
working till
seconds.
midnight because we used to do these gift bags. And we could put together 200 gift bags. And so I was up till midnight some nights putting those things together and put some of those things together. So it's not a lot of play. It is a lot of work, but it's well worth it to work with all the different agencies. But speaking of that, we do have agencies that we work with here. Pam with the chamber back there, you guys really need to become involved with the chamber. And we also have Southwest Virginia Workforce Development Board. They have a lot of programs. One of them is Southwest Business Empowerment
She said.
Initiative. They also got some grant money from the Thompson Foundation to help start up businesses and existing businesses with different things, advertising or any needs of this equipment, that type of thing. So they get just a small pot of money and try to help the big businesses they can. It may be just 5 or 10 for the year, depending on what they need, but that's still a program that's available. So if you need anything like that, you can reach out to us. If it's something, they help you, what do you do?
Stephen Mullins came in to my store and I didn't know. He had a sick child and I thought, great, what's this one down there? So we got to sit down in the office and he started asking me stuff. And he started telling me stuff and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you come in. And he actually set it up to have somebody do at first and then train me how to do the Facebook and Instagram and, you know, make myself accountable. Okay, on Saturday, I know exactly what's going to be on sale and what I'm going to, you know, what I'm going to advertise this week on social media, what I'm going to hit. And they did a great job. They really helped me. It was actually, if I can remember correctly, I believe I had a $7,000 increase within a few months. It was amazing. How that works.
He did, well, that's what I was
Really
telling y'all
good.
about them. Really, Stephen is, he's excellent. I mean, I've called him about a couple of businesses, and some of the ones I called him about, he said, oh, I'm working with them. So,
They got on my computer, they got all that system set up, and QuickBooks, the whole deal. And then they paid for I had my sign, storage front sign, handmade, and they paid for that. So.
there you go, so you started a business.
Stephen's in your mentor book.
Yeah, yes, he
And I
is.
spoke with him yesterday, so. He's in there, so.
I thought he was just another, you know.
It takes him a while to tell you anything. You don't talk real fast like I do, but it takes him a while to get something out, but he's awesome.
He is, he's very good to help our businesses.
He is, he really is.
But anyway, go
I
ahead.
have one question. The pitch that we're going to be given, I want to know.
You can't work with Melissa.
That's what I want to know. Who are we going to get to practice with to not be silly and know that we're doing a good job? That's what I want to see.
You definitely should role play it. You should role play it.
You get in front of your mirror. You talk to her.
Video yourself. That's how you know what your posture is and, you know, how low your voice carries and.
I'm okay like this, but when I'm one-on-one,
That's why practice, and please don't get up and read it off.
that's what I was going to ask you. Do we get to read any, or is this all off your?
I'm not gonna tell you what to do in your 8 minutes, but for me, because I've judged a number of them,
Right.
that's not, you don't get a check mark for I can read it off. This is your opportunity to talk about your business and let it shine. This is what I do. I'm happy about it.
I'll bring them some hemp. I don't care what I say.
Well, it'll take it a while to get in their system.
I'll give it to them. Now, is it just going to be us and them? It's not going to be all of this? It's just
No,
gonna be-
it's gonna be, you're gonna be presenting, doing your pitch to everybody here.
Everybody's going to hear us?
Everybody's gonna be hearing it.
You already know everyone.
They already heard you.
And I say, and listen, I've been in challenges before that weeks before, the folks come early or stay late and they just practice on each other and, you know, and say, you said all too much, or you didn't really tell me about how this expansion, how that's gonna grow in sales, or how you're gonna market, so you can get that. Remember, you got 8 minutes.
I mean, I got it instantly.
The more you do it,
And I sent you a link to other business challenges, like in Floyd and Washington County and others. Go and watch those. You can immediately see what is, what someone that captured your attention and kept it there and answered some of, in your mind, the questions you had, were those that just kept, rattled off. That, they just weren't prepared. You can tell that in an instant. So you've got an advantage over other challenges because you've got a whole list of other workshops that you can look at, or business pitches from other programs that you can look at cheat sheets. But, you can have a PowerPoint, you can have cardboard, you can have samples. How you use that 8 minutes is totally up to you.
I'll have a pro team.
I would definitely bring some samples. 100% so
Yeah.
people can see and, yeah.
And explain each one.
Exactly.
Let them smoke a little flower, That's right.
It depends on anything you're doing.
That calms them down, they do good, it calms them down.
Maybe you should have a little
Thank you, I appreciate that. And
I didn't want to be the one to say it.
And next week, what we'll do is we'll draw names to see in what order the challenge, the business pitches will take place. Now, if you
Next week. And that's in Pocahontas.
yes.
I know.
We already know to get to
Do you have any more
Pocahontas.
questions?
Clinton's
You already know to get to
in the
Pocahontas now,
perfect spot where he can bring samples to everybody.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be your presentation.
I think that's an unfair to all the rest of us that don't have samples like that.
Well, I'm the real disadvantage. I don't have any products to sell anyway.
You could have some kind of 3D model
I need a
or some
sign.
kind of,
True.
I need graphic sign.
if you
It'll
have
be a
something
tough
that
audience,
needs to be,
isn't
I know it is.
do you have like a rendering or anything of what you want it to look like?
No.
Well, if you come up with one, I have a plotter printer that you can print it on as big as this table. If you'd like, you can use it for free.
Wow. Look at that. Now, wow.
Now I've got to come up with that.
Now that the offer, she's dropped the gauntlet,
I
hasn't
know,
she?
yeah.
Well, that's great, Melanie, thank you.
Can I add something about Melanie? The whole time she was talking, what really stood out with me was how you respect your employees. And I think that's huge. And it sounds like that's what you're building your business on. And when you said that, when they come out of the jail or whatever kind of programs those are, that you look them in the eye and shake their hand. You make them feel human again. And I think that's huge.
And
Me too.
obviously you'll have times when you don't, I don't have times when I don't want to do it, but I have times when I get burned or I don't know, you have an unpleasant experience when somebody steals something from you or somebody, you give somebody a chance and then they leave 5 hours early and then try to apply for unemployment. And yeah, you can get bitter and you can hate people and you can say, I'm never hiring another 22-year-old 5'4" trainer, ever. But at the end of the day, if it's not going to matter to you in 15 days, then you try not to worry about it in the time frame and you just have to know you treated them the best you can. And my husband is much better at the slow to hire, quick to fire. Like, he will want to fire sometimes people on like day 3. And I want to give them an opportunity. I want to give it as many. I have a 3-strike system, which actually uniquely came from the 22-year-old trainer who I fired on his 3rd strike. He gave me that idea. And then it worked against him. But that's a good, and they need to be legitimate strikes, The young lady who I hired over here who texted in the day before she started, the first day of her training, she fell asleep. There was strike 1, and probably should have been red flag. Big time red flag. When she showed up for her next day, awake, she had sweatpants on and flip-flops and her hair up in a bun, wet, which is not appropriate for any type of job you're going to work, no matter what. You need to look the part, be presentable, and then the 3rd one was that she texted in. And I'm sure that she did have some very real issues that were going on that made her not be able to be there, but I always say when your issues become my issues, then we have issues.
And she already had the 2 strikes against her.
Yeah, she already had the 2, the 3rd one came before she even completed her W-2. So, yeah. But, and of course, you treat people fairly and you treat them like humans, but you have to also know that if that respect is not reciprocated, then it's not always going to work out.
That's true.
It's a two-way street, isn't it? They're gonna look at you right in the eye and lie to you. And it's like, I filmed you, okay?
Oh, they don't care. The cameras don't
Why
even
you
matter.
visiting?
They don't even matter.
You did this, and you were not supposed to do this.
denied the whole thing.
Did you fire them?
Oh, yeah. And then 2 weeks later, they come back and wanted to have a meeting with me because they want me to hire them back. Because
That took a lot of guts, though. That
Because
took
they
a lot of guts for them to
know
come
that
back.
they was fixing to get kicked out of drug court, drug school, so they had to keep that job. I said, well, I'm sorry, but you'll never work for me again. So I can't trust you. So,
And I think that we must be doing something right at Lawrence Brothers, because even the people who have, I mean, I have one guy that I've rehired him 4 times because he's a really, really good welder. He's a really good worker. Most of the times he's left, he's ended up in jail or he's ended up doing something. But the last time I fired him, or we fired him, he came in drunk on a shift that he was not scheduled to work and spoke in a very derogatory manner to the other employees. And that was it for me. There's no more chances for that person if you treat my people in a way that you shouldn't. You're not, and he's applying currently on Indeed to come back and work for us. So it's tough. And I take that same approach to customers too. I've had customers who, of course, you have in mining. Of course, you have people who think that they're the only customer you have, and they're literally just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, waiting for their business to come. And they'll call and speak to our manager, who we're training to be our chief operating officer, and this customer, who had been a long-term customer with us, working for another family-owned business, the very first business that my grandfather went into business to work for, the customer called and spoke to my operating managers with such low regard that he was almost in tears from anger when he got off the phone because he had to hold his tongue not to say anything. He did the right thing. I called that customer up, and you wouldn't think that I would have it in me, or you wouldn't think that, and I gave him a piece of my mind. He is a 65-year-old man. He used to work for us, actually, and then went to work for the other company. And I called him an asshole, and I told him that if he ever spoke to anyone in my company like that again, that we would never do business with him, and that I would make sure that he would also not have a job, because that is not the philosophy that East Penn Manufacturing operates under. Do you know that he couldn't get a word in, of course. He has never spoke to anyone else again. The vice president of that company called me the next day and apologized to me for the way he spoke. And I don't say that to be like, you have to be a bitch or you have to whatever, but you have to stand up for your people. And that made a huge difference to that employee, because he could not believe that I was willing to risk $2 million a year in business with this customer because of the way he treated him. And I was. But it worked out the way it was supposed to work out, right? And now he's very respectful and very nice, even with me. I saw him in person at the coal show and gave me a hug. Yeah.
Well, any more questions? Well, I just want to let you know the good news. You're halfway through. Next week we'll be in Plaza Bank at the 945 Rescue Squad building. And I'll try to send you directions. Did you guys get my email yesterday about the last two? I need to make sure that you're correct email. The last two workshops were scheduled to be at the county administration building, and there's some meetings going on there that we've moved back to the first place, the American Legion building. So the last two workshops will be there instead of the county administration building. At Tazewell.
And next week's marketing.
Marketing, yes. That will be one that's on the list. I want to tell you also about videos. We were talking about Facebook earlier. 1-minute videos on Facebook seem to be the thing now. It's not just posting something.
Right.
It's like 1 to 2-minute videos.
Yeah.
It's product you want to
Stephen did, my husband and I, when we first opened.
And as nervous as you may be, from a marketing standpoint, if you do a live video, first of all, reality is always better than perfection. So yeah, you're going to stumble over your words, but you can boost it for like $10, and you will get thousands and thousands of views and shares and likes, and we see a direct impact on weeks that my people slack and don't do their videos at the gyms. And the weeks that we do, we see almost a 50% increase in new membership.
Wow.
So when they come to me and tell me, man, it's so slow, I'm not getting any new members. Well, where are your social media videos? Oh, I didn't wash my hair this week.
And you all are carrying around a good video, probably in your pocket, smartphones.
Yeah.
Are pretty
And horizontal
impressive.
always does better when you do those. Horizontal uploads in a higher resolution. I look at you because you're very young, Colin, and you know all these things.
She's profiling.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Guess that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Good job.